Hello and welcome to another tutorial, guys. Okay, so before we begin the tutorial, I have a serious request and I want you to subscribe to the channel. So subscribing is not that hard. Just go and click that subscribe button below the video and that's it. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means the world to me. So please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. I want the channel to get to at least 14,000 subscribers by next month. So if you can help me out with that, I'll be very grateful. So think of it as helping a brother out and click that subscribe button. Okay, I'll give you 2 seconds to click there. Okay, so if you have subscribed, thank you very much. You help the channel grow. All right, so let's get back to business, shall we? All right, so here we correctly managed to show the percentage of answered questions on a particular test. However, this only works well if a student is logged in. So let's log in as an admin or a teacher or something, and let's see where it falls apart. So let's go here and let's say password. Enter. Right. So if I go to tests now correctly, I will see that I, being the admin, have not taken this test at all. So 0%, 0%. Now the problem, this is all good, but if I go to students and click on this guy, who I know has taken this test, excuse me there. If I go to tests and look at this, it still says 0% answered, which is not good because this should reflect what this user has done on these tests. So let's fix that real quickly. So I'm going to go to my text editor here and let's go to take test tab. Actually, that one is tests.inc. If I am not mistaken, and this is where we get the percentage. Now the thing is, the key is the user ID, because depending on the ID that we add in here, that's what will determine what answer we get. So instead of putting our ID there, let's just cut this out and say my ID or something. Let's just create a new variable there that we know isn't being used already. So my ID is equal to, let's put that guy over there. So like this, we haven't changed anything at all. But once we do this, it gives us an opportunity to change what the ID could be. Now, one thing there is here, you should remember, is that everything, including the view, is happening inside our controller. Because if we go to controller, let's say we are on profile.php, that's where we are right now. Everything is inside this function, which is inside this class. So this means that we don't actually leave this function. Even the view is right inside the function. Okay, so all that code from the view is simply echoed here. So this means that we can still use whatever magic comes with classes. So for example, if I want to see what the class name here, because usually the class name is the controller here in the URL. So if I want to know whether I'm on the profile page or not, I can use something like this. I can say echo get class, and then I just use this like so. Okay, so once I echo that, let's see what we're going to get. So refresh, you see there's profile there, which is awesome. Yeah. Now, if you have a newer version of PHP, you don't have to use get class. You can just say echo this class like so, double colon class like that. So this will give you the same result if your PHP version is new. So refresh and you get that. Okay. So for now, we will use get class so that everybody is comfortable. And what I will do is I can just cut this out like so. and then come back to this place, and we can put an if statement here and just say if, and I just put get class this is equal to, and just say profile, like that, and then put the question mark. If that is true, then the auth should, my ID should come from the row. Now, not the test row per se, but the row of the user. So in this case, we will say row, like this, user underscore ID, and then put our full colon. If this isn't true, then let's use the currently logged in user. Okay. Now, profile, maybe let's put capital P there, or if you don't want to do that, you want to leave this in small letters, you can just say string to lower, like this, str to lower, like that, to lower it so that it's always lowercase, and then you can do the comparison to that. Or if you don't want to do this string to lower, you can remove it and just make sure this is capitalized, like so, otherwise it won't be similar. So let's refresh and let's see what we get. So look here, we are in the admin we're in the admin section. I am an admin here, logged in as admin, but I still see the answered levels of this particular user. So let's see here, I have 62.5% on my first test. Let's go to more students that we know have this, and let's go to tests, and you see this one has not taken this test or either of the tests at all. So it reflects the actual thing, and when I go here, it shows what I have done to answer the test, which is 0%. So at least now it shows us more useful information, right? That is good. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, let's create something else. Now what we need is a button for the student to click when they want to say submit the test for marking, right? So we're going to have one more thing here, tests to mark or something, I don't know. In tests here we can have written tests and then to be marked here. So we can do it that way, or we can just add the whole thing at the top here and just say to be marked, and then this one will have notification when the teacher has some tests to mark, and yeah, that should help us. And even on tests here we can put notifications when there are new tests. That can easily be done as well, because we already have the information we need to read and see a test here, and then we can check to see those that have not been marked or answered by the current user, and then show those as notifications. Okay, so let's begin slowly, one step at a time. Now we create a table. So we need a new table. Currently what we have, let me explain the reasons we need a new table. So if I go to answers here, I have each individual answer in this location. Now let's imagine I want to mark this whole test as answered, right? Like the student is done answering and they want to submit. So I want to mark this as a submitted test. This is going to be difficult because I have each individual question here, and it means I have to mark each individual question as a submitted, as part of a submitted test, which is quite wasteful. So instead what we can do is, because there are several things we need to know, we need to submit the test first, because if without that button, the teacher will start marking your questions or your answers before you finish, because sometimes you may want to continue taking the test tomorrow, depending on the type of test. There are tests that should be taken immediately and those that can be taken over several days. So in that case, the teacher should know when to start marking, and you have to indicate that as a student and say, okay, I'm submitting this test. Maybe it's an assignment or something that takes many days, You submit and they start marking. And once they start marking, we have to indicate that this one is in marking progress, and so the student cannot edit anything on that as well. And once the marking is done, the teacher must indicate that they are done marking so that now the student can see their score. So without all these things, it wouldn't work very well. So what we need is really one entry in the database that represents all that data, and so it propagates through the rest of these entries. This is exactly the same as what we did with tests. You see here where we go to tests, there's just one entry for the whole test, and then we still have other entries for each individual question for that test, right? Yes. So in a similar manner, we're going to do that. So instead of just tests, we'll have the answered test and then the test answers themselves.